Ostrowski, would you please call our roll?
I will, thank you. Mrs. Greiner.
Present.
Ms. Myers.
Present.
Ms. Hardeman.
Present.
Mr. Tripp.
Here.
Mr. Peters.
Present.
Dr. Ozello.
Present.
Mr. Kazire.
Present.
If you would all stand and join me with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, first up, we have approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding tonight's agenda? Seeing as there is none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of minutes from the closed session and regular business meeting of May 27, 2025. Is there a motion?
I move that the minutes from the closed session and regular business meeting of May 27th, 2025 be approved as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Seeing as there is none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have public participation. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board regarding any agenda items or any other matters of concern. Is there anyone out there today who would like to address the board? No? Seeing as there is none, we will move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Merlo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Colmine to join me at the podium. This evening, we have some students that we're going to recognize. It's so great when we have students that show up in the summer and allow us the privilege of recognizing them. So, Ms. Colmine, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Dr. Merlo, and good evening, President Tripp, Vice President Peters, and members of the board.
Good evening.
Thank you. So exciting to recognize 4 students tonight, and it looks like 2 are here. So we're going, in all 4 of them, it's around IJAG. And so we're going to start with our high school. We have 2 students from Thomas Jefferson High School that we are recognizing tonight for their outstanding accomplishments this year. I'm going to first start with Brianne Hansen. So Brianne, if you can come on up, and you're going to stay a while. So Brianne Hansen, she was a senior, so she's a new graduate. She was a state qualifier in the prepared speaking events at the 11th and 12th grade Career Development Conference held at Iowa State University in March of 2025. Her speech, go ahead and clap, sorry. Her speech titled, "How IJAG Has Helped Prepare Me for Life After High School," not only impressed the judges, but also represented Thomas Jefferson High School with pride. When Brianne was asked what she enjoys about being in IJAG and what her most memorable experience was, she stated, "There have been so many memories that I have made through IJAG, but the one I remember the most was going to the Leadership Development Conference as the TJ 11th and 12th grade IJAG president. On the bus ride back from the conference, we worked together to develop a meaningful initiative to improve the community. IJAG has helped us create the bond of lasting friendships." Congratulations, Brianne.
Melissa, let's make sure that's not.
Now we're going to take some pictures. We have any more?
Oh, you want to do them all?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so next, from Thomas Jefferson High School, Ella Ferreira. Oh, there she is. She just walked in. So Ella was a freshman last year, and she earned first place in a prepared speaking competition on May 7th in Des Moines. Her topic focused on the powerful impact IJAG has had on her life. When Brianne was asked what she enjoys about being an IJAG and what her most memorable experience was, she stated, "What I appreciate most from IJAG is that my IJAG specialist is always there for me. He makes sure that I am keeping up with my schoolwork and completing it, especially when life got tough. My best memory from this past year was learning that I won first place in May out of approximately 200 students. Congratulations. Next, we're going to switch to our middle schoolers. We have two students, one who is able to be here tonight, but this team, this duo team, was from Wilson Middle School. And so Wilson Middle School had two students advance to the State IJAG Skills Development Conference. This is a statewide event that gives students the opportunity to showcase the skills they've built through their IJAG experience. So the student who is here tonight is Terrence Washington. And Alana Wilson, who's not able to be here tonight, but she might be here in a little bit. Oh, she And she had a busy night, so this is quite remarkable that she was able to be here. Come on down. So this is Alana Wilson, everybody. Alina, sorry, Alina. And if you're wondering who this nice lady is up here, this is Kylie Sellers. She is their teacher who has been helping them. So at the IJAG Skills Development Conference, these two students from Wilson Middle School participated in the Conference's Love Project. And students were challenged to identify a need in their community and create something to inspire change. This was whether through creating a product that was art, writing, social media, or performance. Terrence and Elena wrote and performed a powerful slam poem about the lack of mental health resources for young people their age. Their message was moving, and their hard work earned them third place in the statewide middle school division with over 200 people. And I was told that their creativity, leadership, and commitment to making a difference are truly inspiring. We are proud of their accomplishment, and we look forward to what they will do next year. Congratulations. No, this is every, oh, sorry, we do have one more person.
Do you want to take a high school one and a middle school one separately?
We'll do one group and
Yep,
then separate.
that sounds good.
Is she okay behind? Does that work? Okay, can you have the high school step out and middle school, we'll scoot over towards Mr. Tripp.
And then we'll do, yeah, there you go. There you go.
Is that good?
Oh, that's really good.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Yes.
Don't forget your glasses. Oh, you're good. You got it? Oh, she got it. Okay.
Just in time. Hey, that's all right.
When we go into student achievement? Okay, you want to say we're moving to student achievement?
Congratulations again to our students tonight. Fantastic work. Guys, keep up the good, positive, everything that you guys are doing. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next up on our superintendent's report section is student achievement. Dr. Murillo.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Matthews to the podium. This evening, the board will receive a report on our spring 2025 MAP results from our NWA assessment, our district assessment. So, Dr. Matthews, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo, and good evening, Board. Good evening. It is my pleasure to share the results of our Spring MAP Assessment Administration with all of you this evening. As a brief reminder and overview of what NWEA MAP is, this is the assessment that we use, and it is administered 3 times per year in the areas of math, reading, and science. We administer it in grades K-11 in the fall and spring and K-10 in the winter window this year. This provides a roadmap for teachers and administrators. It gives everybody that immediate feedback on student growth and performance, and we can really dig in and analyze reports on an individual student level, a classroom level, a grade level, a school level, and the district level. So it's really important to inform a lot of decisions we make. It looks at a variety of instructional areas for both math and reading that we can get domain reports on as well, and then it helps us to make curriculum decisions that are really ensuring that we are meeting the needs of students and helping them achieve their individual goals for both that performance and their individual growth. This work aligns directly with District Strategic Goal 1, which is to improve academic achievement, and you may recall we have 3 metrics around this goal. I did add a graphic this year because I wanted to further explain the first metric we use, which is to have 65% of our students scoring in the average, or high band on MAP math, reading, and science. This graphic is showing you on a normed assessment, as NWEA MAP is, there are going to be 20% of students in each of those 5 bands that they use. So students are assigned a national percentile rank because they're being compared to their peers. And so to show you what we really mean by a stretch goal of 65%, across the nation, every student who takes this assessment is in one of these quintiles, and there will be 20% of students in each one. So across the nation, only 60% of students will be in those yellow, green, or blue bands, those top 3 bands we're striving for. And our goal is to surpass that and get 65% of students there. So I just thought that visual would help you to see kind of what those numbers mean when we talk about those national percentile ranks. So that is our goal for the 65% for this school year, and I'll talk to you about how we measured up against that goal. We also know that individual growth is super important for our students, so our goal is that stretch goal of 60% or more of students achieving their individual growth targets in all 3 areas. Again, this is a stretch goal because of how the test is normed. 50% of students will meet that goal, and 50% of students will not meet that goal because they're being compared to students in their peer group who are scoring at their same level. And then finally, because we believe in the importance of growth for every student, we set the goal of 100% of students demonstrating some growth in all 3 areas. So we will start with an overview of all of our goals. Again, this is just those same 3 metrics I just described for you, but I wanted to put it into this table to show you where we were on those. Starting with our percent of students scoring in those top 3 bands. Again, this goal is 65%. We were very close in the area of mathematics. We achieved just under 62% of students in those top 3 bands. So above that normative distribution of 60%, we got to that 62% mark. In reading, we were just shy of that at 57.62%, and then in science, we were at 59.91%. All of these are within 1% of where we ended last spring. So not a lot of variance in where we ended this year, but some great celebrations individually from fall to spring as we look at that growth. For the growth targets, our goal was 60% of students, again, meeting that individual growth target. I am very proud to say we surpassed that goal in the area of mathematics with 64.14%. Yes. In reading, we did surpass that norm of 50% with just over that, 50.16%. And then in science, we were at 48.45% of students meeting that growth target. And then for any growth, again, the goal is 100%. In math, we had 88.47. In reading, 79%. And in science, 65.16%. And those were all within about 2% of where we were last year. So we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into each of the content areas, beginning with mathematics. And I'm very pleased to say that the percentage of students performing in those top 3 bands from fall to spring increased by 6.69%. So we're very pleased to see that growth and progress throughout the year. Looking at that data over time, beginning in spring 2018, when we first administered this assessment, this graph shows you where we were at each of the assessment periods, spring, fall, winter, on repeat across the bottom. So drawing your attention to maybe those last 2 groups of 3, you might notice fall started low, and then we made progress in winter and progress in spring, and then we dropped again in fall, progress in winter, progress in spring. And you might recall 2 years ago is when the algorithm for the math assessment changed. And so that accounts for that steeper drop in the fall because they are assessing them on end of year standards. But we're showing that progress as they go through their curriculum and are actually taught those grade level standards to reach those higher proficiencies. When we look at the math achievement at each grade level, K-10, and then the district average overall, you will see that the highest performing grade continues to be kindergarten. That has been consistent throughout the year at nearly 78%. And we know how important that strong foundation is, and we added kindergarten to our transition goal this year to ensure that we were really setting those students up for success this year and into the future. We also had 7 grade levels and the district average surpassing 60% in the top 3 bands, and 3 grade levels met or exceeded our goal of 65%, and those were in kindergarten, 3rd, and 4th grade. I do want to point out that 9th grade was really close at nearly 64%, and that's another one of our key transition grade levels, so very proud of their work. When you look at this graph, that teal line is showing where the students were in the fall compared to the purple bars where they ended in the spring to really look at that change over time. So again, this is where at the district level, you'll see that over 6% increase. I also want to point out double-digit increases in kindergarten, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grades. And also important to note, we had increases in grades K-8 across the board. So very impressive increases in proficiency there. For the second data metric, we look at growth targets. Again, this is that percentage of students meeting their expected growth based on predetermined targets that are established by NWEA. I do just put that teal line as a reminder of the 50%, what NWEA says we should expect for students to meet growth, and then our stretch goal of 60%. First, looking at the teal line, I want you to notice that all but 2 grade levels and our district as a whole exceeded that national average of 50% of students meeting expected growth targets. And again, 9th grade was so close at 49.36%. And then when you look at that yellow line, our district goal of 60%, all of our elementary grade levels surpassed that end of year goal, and 8th grade met the goal. 3 grade levels also exceeded 70%, and 6th grade was approaching at 69.54%, another key transition grade level. When we switch to the percentage of students making any growth, this may seem familiar to you.
You know the time,
No, it's only 6:48.
7 yet.
Here we go.
Oh,
Thanks.
Good job, Tim. Well done.
I apologize. You may recognize this almost stair-step pattern with students meeting any growth, and we know that as students achieve higher RIT scores, that margin for improvement and growth really narrows, so the higher grade levels typically can fluctuate by a point or 2 and not meet growth, but stay within their band of proficiency. So some key highlights here are that grades K through 2 are all above 99% of students showing any growth, which is excellent. And then with all of elementary, the average is above 95%. And middle school grades averaged above 80% at 85% there as well. So very impressive in those higher grade levels to get that kind of growth. We also want to ensure that we are meeting the needs of all students, so we look at the data by student group, and this is showing the percent of students in those top 3 bands by student group. All students, ELL, IEP, and then Asian, Black, Hispanic, Native American, multiracial, white, and low SES. What you might notice here right away is that our greatest discrepancy in achievement continues to be for our students receiving EL services and those with IEPs. The percentages are fairly steady compared to last year in terms of that achievement. We know once they reach proficiency, they're no longer eligible for those services. So that explains part of that gap as well. But also important to look at is the growth they are making. And when you look at the percentage of students meeting their growth targets by student group, you see much less variance in the area of mathematics, showing that we are meeting students where they are, we are meeting their needs to help them reach those growth targets at the same level, regardless of their student group for the most part. I do want to point out also that all of our student groups are above that 50% national average, and all but one are above our goal of 60%. So very excited about that too. That concludes the update on our progress toward our math goals. Now we will switch gears and discuss reading, where we had a gain of 1.59% from fall to spring. This is slightly higher than last year where we were at 1.21%. So just a little bit of a difference there. And again, looking at the data over time, this is showing that this year from fall to winter, we saw a greater increase than we have historically, but we did drop just a little bit from winter to spring. And we do know that we made some changes to our timeline for ISASP and wonder if some of that was end of year testing fatigue and that stamina for some of these reading passages and analysis. So we're going to continue to work through that. When we look at proficiency at each grade level, K-10 and then the district average, we have some celebrations here as well. All but one grade level are at or above 50%, with 3 grade levels over 60%, and 1 grade exceeding our end of year 65%, which again was that kindergarten class. 10th grade continues to be an area of focus. I did want to note that we had a more than 5% decrease in this grade level from winter to spring, and we do struggle sometimes. I think we have a couple of administrators who could attest to really motivating and engaging those students to try their best and reach their full potential on this spring assessment in those higher grade levels. So that's something I know the teams work really, really hard on, but we know they have the potential, and we have other data points that show they are successful in this area. Again, looking at fall, the teal line compared to spring in the blue bars, we did have increases in over half the grade levels tested, most notably at 2nd grade with a 12.32% increase. And this is where you always hear from me in the fall, 2nd grade looks so low, they're switching to that 2+ assessment, it's completely independent. This shows they can achieve, they just need a little bit of time to adjust and adapt to that assessment, and then look where they go. We are also seeing some notable decreases at 4th, 9th, and 10th grades. So those are areas where we drill down then, like I mentioned before, to the school level, the classroom level, the individual student level through our MTSS processes to make sure they have the supports they need. And then we will make sure then in the subsequent year when those students are a grade ahead, we're starting off with strong plans in place. We definitely use our MTSS processes and triangulate that data. Another note about MAP that we really use is looking at those domains, and where we saw some increases that you won't see on this graph are in some of those isolated skills, foundational skills, vocabulary usage, writing, and language. So we're seeing some pockets of increases in some of our domains, and now our next step is really getting students to apply that in those literary and informational reading passages to see those areas increase at the same level. Again, we look at that second metric, which is related to meeting growth targets, and here we had two grade levels, kindergarten and 2nd grade, exceed our goal of 60%. Grades 4, 5, and 7 were near that national norm of 50%, and then grades K2 and 8 exceeded that national norm, which was very great. Again, questioning that stamina with the 3-8 reading assessment and the timing with the ISASP is another area that we're going to look at, building that stamina throughout the year so that we know that they have the grit to really persevere through these assessments. When we look at any growth, this is where 8th grade is really a standout for secondary, so I wanted to make sure to point them out, with 75% of their students making any growth. That is really difficult to attain in those higher grade levels, so very proud of that work. Again, nearly 99% of K1 students made growth, and the K5 average was above 90% making any growth in this area. When we look at student groups, this is similar to what we saw in math, where we see more variance in our student group performance data, especially the ELL and IEP groups when looking at overall performance in those top 3 bands. But again, with growth targets, we see less variance, showing that we are meeting students' needs at a similar rate regardless of their student group in the area of reading as well. We are continuing to explore resources and supports for these student groups. You may recall approving UFly as a resource for our special education population that was implemented in January. So we will continue to follow that journey on implementation and outcomes for those students as well. That concludes the summary of our reading data. Now we will move on to science, where unfortunately we did not see that same positive change in students performing in the top 3 bands. We did see a slight decrease of 2.2%. While this is not where we want to be, I do want to point out that this is the first year that we assessed 5th grade at all 3 of our testing windows, and this is also the first year that this was one of our metrics of our strategic goal. We've been assessing in this area since winter of 2021, as you can see, and we've been utilizing the data from those, but now it's a metric. It is a focus. It is something that aligns to our strategic goals, so it is a high priority. When you look at the data over time, you can see that we were pretty steady fall and winter, dropped a little bit in the spring. But when you think about all of these longitudinal graphs you saw tonight for math, reading, and science, this is the one that's the most consistent. We don't see as much change. I had another aha as I was analyzing this data in terms of science compared to reading and math, where reading and math curriculum are really spiraled, where you're introducing a concept, you're going to revisit it throughout the year and build on that till you get to mastery of standard. Science is approached a little differently, where you're covering a unit, you're covering that area, and then you move on from that area. So we need to continue to look at, when students don't master a concept within the unit, how do we help them to gain that knowledge later on in the year? Because if they didn't know it in the fall and they don't see it again before spring, they're likely not going to have that same growth that we see in reading and math. When you look at the performance across grade levels, again, first time that we've administered this for 5th grade in the spring. We have 5th grade through 10th grade and district average as a whole. All grade levels are at or above 50%. 4 of the 6 grade levels are at or above 60%, and 2 grade levels met our end of year goal. I wanted to point out that I was especially proud of 7th and 8th grade. They were higher this spring than they were last spring, and we know they had some changes to their middle school schedule this year with a decrease in time, and the teachers and students really persevered through that. They were very efficient with their time, really focused on their priority standards, and they rose to the occasion and outperformed where they were last year. So I just wanted to applaud the teachers for that effort, the students, and the parents who support them at home. When you look at where we started in the fall, again, that teal line at each grade level, we did see either steady performance or those slight drops from fall to spring, and that is consistent with what we saw last year and goes back to some of what I said about if they didn't have it when it was introduced, they're not going to just pick it up along the way. They don't revisit that concept, so we will work through that. When we look at the second metric, growth targets, again, that teal line is the 50%, and then the goal line there of 60% is orange. We had 2 grade levels at or above that national average of 50%. 5th grade is really close, approaching that 60% goal. Again, first time assessing them, really pleased to see them making that growth at 5th grade. Again, looking at percentage of students making any growth, it's a very similar stair-step pattern to what we saw in the other areas. The lower the grade level, the lower the RIT, the more likely they are to make some growth, but we continue to really focus in on this as a priority. For student groups, there is a little more variance in the area of science. We do still note that ELL and IEP student groups have the greatest discrepancy compared to other students, and especially given the technical and content-specific vocabulary, this becomes an increasingly difficult area for our newcomers and our English learners who are still acquiring conversational communication, let alone scientific verbiage. This is definitely going to be a continued area of focus. I will point out that for science, because we're testing fewer grades, the number of students in each student group is smaller, so the data is skewed a little more easily by a couple of students one way or the other. So just keeping that in mind when we analyze the data as well. When we look at growth targets, we do see that there is greater variance in this area as well, not as consistently meeting growth targets in the area of science. Again, they're not revisiting these areas over and over, and most of our IEP services are related, for academics related to reading or math, not specific to science. Of course, we want those skills to transfer to science, but we need to master some of those core math and reading skills and then apply it to the science content first. So that concludes all of the reporting for math, reading, and science. I wanted to talk about some next steps as we are really in the heart of planning for the 2025-26 school year. The first is really ensuring that we are aligning our professional learning and adjusting instruction based on data. This is an ongoing process that we are doing constantly at the district level, at building level, through collaborative teams, following our MTSS process, every teacher looking at student data as well. And in fact, members of the teaching and learning department are collaborating with our chiefs of schools tomorrow to really make sure we have a focused through line on our professional learning related to all of this end of year data that we have. And so it's very timely that we're in the process of reviewing all of these and making those plans for next year. For step 2, I had mentioned previously that we are exploring a comprehensive literacy state development grant. It's a 2-phase grant, and we submitted an application earlier this month, and I'm really excited about the phase 1, which would really give us some resources to be able to do a deep audit of our current state of literacy, instruction, professional learning, screening, progress monitoring, our core resources, making sure everything is really aligned, and having an opportunity to have an external person maybe even review that with us and work with our district leadership team on some recommendations that will help give us that boost and lift that we need. So very excited to hear from the state about that grant. For step 3, we have made updates to our science curriculum maps in response to the revised standards that were just approved by the Iowa Board of Education late this spring. That will, of course, come with professional learning. The adjustments have already been made to the maps. The teachers were very heavily involved. I really appreciate our middle school teachers especially had to do some rearranging of their content within their grade levels. Standards that were previously covered in one grade shifted to another, and their input was so valuable on where those best fit, looking at ISASP, looking at MAP to make sure everything was really smooth and aligned, and also making sure nobody missed anything if something was previously covered in 8th grade and now it's moving to 6th grade or vice versa, that they're still going to get all of their content this year and not miss anything in their gaps. So that will really give us an opportunity to continue to look more deeply at science, as we are also piloting our K-5 science resources next year. And then finally, providing ongoing differentiated consulting and coaching support to meet the needs of individual grade level schools and student groups, constantly analyzing where are the greatest areas of needs, who are the best people to support those areas, working as a team to just really put all of our support around the places that need them most. So with that, I would welcome any questions you may have.
I just wanted to thank you for clarifying that 10th grade issue, because I'm over here writing, going, why is 10th grade so low and what's going on? And so I appreciate you clarifying that for us. And I appreciate the statement of how well the middle school teachers went with the science. Because I know it was a concern, they weren't going to have the time. And wow, big difference.
Absolutely. They rose to the occasion. They were amazing.
Thank you for doing that.
I just have a couple quick questions. So I know the map testing, we obviously have control over when we can schedule it and everything. Do we have control over ISASP scheduling as far as where in the cycle it is? Because I know there was some issues in the spring because of that.
Yeah, so really for all, there are windows of time that we must administer, even MAP, because it is our approved screener. So we choose that as a district. It's the assessment we believe in. But for K-6, we are required to screen 3 times a year within designated windows. And then with ISASP as well, there is a designated window. It typically starts mid-March and goes through like the first or second week in May.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big window that we can align, but it's still a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yes.
that makes sense. Okay, because I remember with maps, I remember, but I wasn't completely sure about ISASP.
Yes.
I had. I apologize if I'm going to sound a bit like a wet blanket. I'm excited about the math growth. Like that's great. But when I see like a 7-year span, we had a 10% growth, and then in one semester, 6% of that. Sometimes I get concerned when I see things like that. Or do we see if similar districts had possibly similar growth? Like if possibly you mentioned the algorithm change that happened last year. If maybe there were changes that. I don't want to question too much of this, but just when I see a large jump like that, that's just, I was curious.
Sure, fair question. I think we saw that big increase fall to spring, one, because we have a lot of really great things happening, and two, because every year we start over, essentially, because students are being normed on that, think about that graphic I showed you.
Yep.
So every year, we're going to have, across the nation, every student who takes this test, 20% are going to be in the bottom, 20% are going to be in the top, no matter what, because they're always being compared to other students. You can't have 100, as a nation, you can't have 100% of students in that top band.
Yep.
They have to fall evenly within those. So I think that just recognizing every year we're starting over, and they're going to be redistributed across those bands.
And there might be a change in like what, last year's score that maybe would have gotten a student in the, in the 80% maybe gets them in the 79 or 78% or something like that.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I was, it was in the back of my head, but I was thinking. And then I had just one last question. I know we've talked a lot about some new resources for reading specifically. I think it was like reading science training resources. I was wondering if there was any feedback that we've heard on that, on whether it's really helping. And I mean, we're seeing some, growth, which is great.
Yes, I would say we've gotten very positive feedback, talking to principals, talking to teachers about the use of that. We really let schools have agency in how it would best fit within their school improvement plans. That was an opportunity the Department of Education provided to us in the fall after school improvement plans were already developed, professional learning was already developed. So we didn't want to make it just one more thing schools had to do, but we presented the opportunity, and they were so excited and embraced it and really looked at, for my school, this grade level, they all need that extra support and boost in implementation. And at another school, it might have been, well, our building MTSS team really looked and diagnosed and said, you know what, this group of students would most benefit. So really giving them that agency, I think, allowed them to own how it best met the needs in their schools.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And this might have been covered in a previous meeting, do the ELL students, are they able to use any of their translations or they have to like read straight up English? Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the board? Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Matthews.
And now we'll move on to our informational presentations this evening. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tim Hamilton. We have two special guests with us this evening. Pretty excited. We do this. We have this report annually, and I always look forward to this. So, Mr. Hamilton,
What a clown.
I think you're ready.
Yeah, they are chomping at the bit. This is one of my most favorite nights because, as I was telling Mr. Devotny and Mr. Peterson, this is the one night of the year they get to stand up here and brag a little bit about all the hard work that they put in. So I'm really excited to share some of that information with you. Before I bring up our guests of honor, I would like to just remind you of a few things. Goal 4 for the district is to ensure each student is supported and connected. I will say this over and over again, and you've all heard it before. When kids are supported and connected, they're more likely to have higher academic achievement, The attendance rates are going to be up, and their sense of engagement or their sense of ownership of their own education goes up as well, which is going to lead to that, to kids being, doing better in school. Our goal specifically on this is 75% of our high school students participate in an extra or co-curricular activity. When we talk about extra and co-curricular activities, we're talking about our sanctioned athletic teams, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, all of those scores. Our extra and co-curricular activities like drama, robotics, JROTC, Cyber Patriots, all of those that you see there. And then we also include our 21st Century Clubs. We are really, really proud that we have 21st Century Clubs in every one of our school buildings across the district. The coolest part about 21st Century Clubs is this is really student-led. Students can come up with an idea that they want for a club, and they can find a teacher, a para, or staff member to lead that club, and then they can go and do the club within the school. So it really is, we have some really interesting clubs at our school, and it changes every single year. A couple of the ones that I saw this year that I wanted to talk about were Educators Rising, so our Future Teachers Club, anime, guitar, movie, sewing club, outdoor club, and then fit club, because not all kids want to participate in athletics, but they do maybe want to do exercise or do some things to stay fit. So we can do that in 21st Century and pay the adult to be there to help them. So we're not asking our staff members to volunteer their time, even though many of them would. We can't have good programs if we don't have good facilities. When you look across our facilities within our district, we have some top-notch facilities across the board. I do want to recognize just some things that we've done this last school year and things that we have planned for this next school year. I know many of you sitting here know about these, but I don't think people at home maybe know some of the things that we've done. So at Abraham Lincoln, when you come in, the entrance and concession areas, we've added some wraps there that make it look really inviting and kind of more of that, like, this is our house environment. The practice track was redone last year. The auxiliary gym floor was redone last year, and the tennis courts had some upgrades to it just because over time they had some wear and tear. Some things that we have scheduled to happen, probably our biggest thing this summer is they're refinishing the wood floor in the field house, which is the main gym there at Abraham Lincoln. At Thomas Jefferson last year, the entrance to TJAC is like no other one within the conference. You walk in and you know that's the home of the Jackets. That entrance is awesome. It's going to get a little better. One of the things we have scheduled for next year is we're moving. We wanted to do it last year and ran out of time. Where the concession stand currently is, that's going to become our ticket booth. We're going to move the we're going to move the concession stand to that back far. There was a window there. We're making it bigger. The concession stand's going to be bigger, and it's going to really add to the flow. It's not going to be so congested up there in the front. Another thing that TJ did last year is they added a lot of monitors throughout their building where they're recognizing students doing great things. When you walk through TJ, you see pictures of your peers who are doing great things in all extra and co-curricular activities there. So that's really cool. Some of the things we have scheduled at TJ, the tennis court is being upgraded. I know Mr. Peterson today was asked about colors. I was actually asked about colors, and I'm like, no, Mr. Peterson and Mr. Naughton will make that decision. And the TJ gym, the TJAC gym is being completely repainted, changing where things are hanging. It's going to look awesome. We had a camp there that was there yesterday and today. So painting actually started after they left today. And then, as you know, the auditorium is being redone at TJ, which is a huge project for the district, and it will look awesome. As far as district things that we've done, you might remember the video board. I think I had a picture of that on the first slide. The largest video board in high school in Iowa, which is awesome. The Innovation and Sports Center, golf, baseball, and robotics are pretty well done up there. We are expanding to do multimedia and esports in the other rooms, and you guys did a tour of that a month or so ago. So those are some plans that we have moving forward for facility upgrades. So now I'm going to bring up Mr. Novotny, who's going to talk about Abraham Lincoln High School and all the great things going on there. Mr. Novotny, come on up.
Hi. My name is Jeff Novotny, 20th year as activities director. Big year, so yes, thank you. And it is a good night, you know. I get told maybe don't talk a lot, but, you know, I do like to brag about Abraham Lincoln High School. I wear red and blue every day, so. Last year, we presented the culture rings to you, and it was just at the very, very beginning. We had a grant where we brought in some people. We had all of our athletic coaches, all of our music teachers, all of those co-curricular clubs, and they all brainstormed on how do we provide success for kids, and they came up with our culture rings. I'm gonna have a slide on it later, but really these culture rings at AL, every decision we make, everything we do falls into one of these categories, and if we do that, we will be successful. Maybe not always in wins and losses, but when we talk about student success and feeling good about what they're doing and the goals Tim talked about, that's what that's all about. A little bit about our participation data, and you do have this. We put a lot of work into it, and really those last 4 pages are, I'm not going to take credit for it. Those are my coaches. I share the doc with them. That is their chance to brag about the things going on in their program. So take some time to read it. I'm going to briefly hit a couple things, but I would be here a long time if I talked about all 4 of those pages. This last year, we had 828 students at AL that participated in at least one activity, which is roughly just a hair under 70%. Of those 828, 368 of them, so a little bit less than half, were involved in a multi-activity, so maybe 2 sports, maybe a sport, and a co-curricular, what have you. Some highlights, our fall and winter coaches did a great job. You can see our numbers really increased in those 2 seasons, along with several co-curricular activities and our CTSOs. And to brag those up, they're really taking shape, and teachers are really buying it. Skills USA and Coach Driver, we had a state champion in cabinet making. So, I mean, those are great opportunities for kids. A lot of great recognitions for kids. We did have several all-staters in vocal music, individual large group speech, boys basketballing. We had a state qualifier and place winner in the boys state wrestling meet, which is a huge accomplishment. So a lot of great things going on individually. And again, our overall participation rate is right at 70%, but as an AD, what I look at, and spend a couple days getting this report ready, is I look at that flip side of that 30% of the kids, and that's roughly, if you do the math there, about 350 kids who I've researched and are not involved in an activity at AL. And we try to figure out why, you know. So there's a lot of reasons. I survey them. A lot of them just aren't into that. They want to work instead. Some are 5th-year seniors who are just taking 1 or 2 classes and leaving. So there's a lot of reasons why those 30% are not active, but that is a goal to try to reach them. And we analyze some different areas. We brought up ELL in the past presentation. We do have a portion of kids who English is not their first language who are not participating. So trying to brainstorm maybe a 21st century club that can reach those students, try to get that rate up to 75%, which is the district goal. My last slide is how are we focusing on our culture rings, what I presented to you at the beginning. Character, and you can see those 3 things line up with what Tim's first slide was about, our district goals. And to give you one example, our football coaches really attacked character and really attacked the academics and attendance. You know, if there was a student who was unverified first period, he had a football coach probably talking to him by second period. And like, you could just see on the kid's face, like, well, how'd you know I wasn't here first period? So, you know, when the kids know eyes are on them and holding them accountable and raising the bar, the kids are going to meet that. So, and they had some great results, both in academics and attendance, because of the work that they put in trying to reach every student individually. And again, those expectations. You know, the more we raise expectations for kids, the more coaches' expectations are raised, the better our programs are going to be. Our second culture ring is community. You can divide community as a lot of things. We really focused on the feeder schools this year. I mean, you could talk about the AL community, the Council Bluffs community. We said we want to do a better job reaching our feeder schools, and we made a lot of efforts. Some things that we've always done, team camps, inviting the elementary kids up to pack the gym night. But some things that we did above and beyond this year, homecoming week, we made an effort to have every school represented either at recess or high fives, to try to get instilled what homecoming week is to the current students and to the elementary students. Our music department went down for the first time, visited all 5 feeder elementaries, and both vocal and instrumental had an assembly. And the feedback I received from the elementaries was great. And then one thing that a lot of schools have done, it was copied, was the graduation walks, which we hit at the very end of the year, which really wasn't co-curricular or extracurricular, that was just our seniors, but the seniors loved it. We practiced, we went to the elementaries. When we were getting ready for graduation, that's all they talked about. And the faces on those kids, I went to Lewis and Clark, but just the faces on those kids cheering on graduates. So connecting to those feeder schools in a variety of ways is that community. One thing we are going to try to work on a little bit more this year is partnerships outside the school, whether that's advertising, whether that's bringing in businesses and getting their support. And then work, again, another big word, but to sum it up, our coaches, our sponsors, really said, if we don't put the work in, we're not going to be successful. You just can't get around it. If you're not going to work hard, you're not going to be there. So strength and conditioning for the athletes was a big part. I can tell you we made strides this year. This summer's been going great with over 350 kids. And next year, our coaches really made an emphasis to get our athletes in there. We have a record number of sections for strength and conditioning as a class next year with, I think, 4 or 5 periods that are going to have 2 sections. So that's a great problem to have, but it's essential. And then year-round commitment. I mean, you have kids that have been involved or are getting involved. Everything seems to be not in their season anymore. It's, it's a winter sport, but guess what? They're playing in the fall, they're playing in the summer, they're playing in the spring. So realizing our coaches need to be committed year-round just for a small little stipend, and our kids need to be committed year-round to be successful. Those are going to be some things we continue to work on. With that, I am going to turn it over to Luke Peterson, our Activities Director, Thomas Jefferson.
Good evening, Board. How are you?
Doing well.
I will say, I haven't been around nearly as long as Mr. Novotny has, but I am certainly happy to be starting my 4th year at TJ. Super excited about it, and seeing, we were just talking about it today, that the freshman class that we started with is now going to be seniors. So we're really excited about that as an admin team and going through. So as we look at Pride, which is what our culture program is at TJ, participation, respect, integrity, dedication, and effort, all right? So when we do everything that we do, it goes through this lens. As an example, one of the things that we have, one of the focuses that we had last year with this culture piece was connecting with the community. And one of the things that we do as an example of that is we have what we call a Pride Participant of the Week. And what that is that's coaches nominate either kids that are in a sport or in an activity, whatever it is, and they highlight one of these 5 aspects. They nominate them, we vote on them in the office, we get 2 of them, and they each get a Hog Wild lunch on Fridays. Now, walking into the cafeteria with 400 of your peers, and you get Hog Wild barbecue, and they're eating a taquito or whatever they've got from the thing, and they come on, we present it to them. Like it's kind of a big deal, and then their pictures up on the screens that we talked about. Those are the things that we're doing to infuse it in the school. And it goes a long way. It goes a long way in recognition for those students to know. Kids come up and ask like, hey, how do I get that? So we also have others that we talk about Pride for the week, and we talk about different people that teachers nominate. They'll come up and they get a cane certificate to go across the street and get a 3-finger meal. So all these community partners have really stepped up with us in offering these things to do that. And I think that when we look at the respect part, it's kind of hard to get data that backs that up. But one of the things that we really looked at, and that I've looked at since the day that I got there, this was the first year since I've been there. It's been moving downward, but this year we had absolutely 0 unsportsmanlike conduct calls or any ejections from any games across the entire school year. So that for us was big. That was huge. And I think that what it is really getting across to the players, to the students, to the people, hey, we don't need to have that kind of behavior. That's not what we mean. That's not what we stand for. That's not what our community stands for. So I think it's important that goes together with the integrity, obviously the dedication and the effort, and we just continue to push that. At Thomas Jefferson, we had 701 out of 1,043 students. We're right at about 68%, which is up a little bit still from last year, which is good. our multiple all-conference district athletes in football, basketball, and soccer, all-state awards in speech, chorus, and girls soccer, state tournament qualifiers in girls and boys wrestling. We had boys bowling, and we also had qualifiers in boys track. Our robotics team got to the prestigious Worlds Tournament, also took a great trip that you probably heard about to Shanghai, which again is a community partner that pretty much sponsored that entire trip, which is amazing. And those kids coming back and them going around to different advisements and telling their story of where they went and what they did was powerful. And it's good to see that that can infect the building and really help build that pride across the way. Girls tennis tied their season win record with a total of 12, okay? So as we look at the pride piece and we look at things as we go, one of the things that we really want, we do it school-wide. It's obviously not just in the extracurricular arena, but what we want to do is we want to really flex the athletic and the extra and co-curricular programs into building that even more. And one of the things that we've noticed, and many of us would know, a lot of our coaches or our sponsors, when we were in school, also worked in the school. They were teachers, right? Well, a lot of our coaches now work outside of the building, which has its own little problems that come along with it and challenges, but we really like to address those. And I think when we look at Goal 4 and we know that so many of those teachers or those people in our buildings that the kids have that connection with, that person that cares for them that they think about, that might be a coach. And what we want to do is we want to work with our coaches a little more to leverage them even more to have a good effect on their academics, all right? And I think a great example of that, and many of you know this person's name, but Coach Doug Mulig, who's been around a while, okay? This coach is amazing in making connections with the student athletes, connecting with them, communicating with their teachers. Even though his entire email is usually in the subject line, it's great. It's powerful. It comes across and it works. And it's so good to see, and the kids respond to it. You know, you'd think now that some kids would push back from that, like, oh, you're too much. They really don't. They actually, I think they welcome it, and I think that it's good that we continue to do that with the pride piece and really infusing it across the board to help our extra and co-curriculars boost our academics. The youth program, and we've made some really good strides with that. I think that it's more with the coaches and looking at, I can't just concentrate on my team here. I can't do that because you know what? In a year, half of those kids might be gone. What happened to these? I need to know who these kids are. So we've made a concerted effort to take groups to the elementary schools, to take coaches and players to the students, hand out a t-shirt, say, hey, we're glad you're at school today, this is the thing, come to a game, come see us. We have seating areas behind our teams when they're there in the basketball court or the volleyball court or at the football games, trying to get them used to it. But I think one of those things that goes along with the youth is that when we have like homecoming and we have our tour that we do of the elementary schools and the middle schools that day, and the parade, all right? We're seeing students, and it's kind of funny, and I know we were a little scared about it at first, but when you're seeing second and third graders from 2 years ago that remember me when come by and they're all going stingers up, they know, and they're there, and that's what we want. We want them to know that when they keep going, they're going to wind up at TJ. That's where they're going. That's where they're going to be, and this is what we're about. So I think that what we've been doing with youth is helping. It's always a battle. It's always something that there's more to do. We had a big meeting with basketball in Wilson Middle School last week with all of the coaches involved and said, how are we going to mix this more? What are we going to do in the off season? How are we going to work these kids together? We're going to have our coaches visit their practices and work with them. We're going to have their coaches at our practices working with our coaches so that our language is the same as they come from one. That's our transition piece, right? When they come through, we're going to have some 8th graders that'll travel to some of our games to be like spectators behind the thing. So just like in an away game, so that they start to get the realm of it to see. But I think that connecting the academics piece is really where we're at. And we work really hard at TJ week to week, checking grades and attendance for eligibility. We do it hard. I mean, every Monday, Christy Arthur is pulling data. And that data comes across my desk every Monday morning. And every coach gets a letter with it. They're either yellow and warning or they're red, and we've got to work on them, like yesterday. So we work with that, and the kids know that it's there. There's kids that show up at my door at 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. Mr. Peterson, I'm taking a test, first period, and I know it's going to help. I know it's going to bring my grade up. Okay, well, I walk down to them to the classroom, talk with the teacher, and make sure they're on, the up and up with it, and they know that they're being held responsible for it. So I think it's good, and it's working, and we're going to continue that hard work to do it, but we're super excited about it. We've got coaches we don't have a ton of turnover. We've had some, a little bit. Tough one was we lost our band director, but we replaced with a great candidate from Creighton Prep, which really excited about. In this last year, I've probably spent more time with fine arts than I have, because actually right now fine arts is a really growing group for us across the board, which is wonderful. So my wife and I took the trip to Iowa City to go to the Iowa Honors Band competition, which was eye-opening to see and to hear our kids play with the best. It was awesome. So I think that as we continue to do that, connecting that academic piece is huge for us, and we're going to continue to work on it along with the youth and the pride. So that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Hamilton.
Can you tell they're passionate about it? When we did this yesterday, it was literally 4.5 minutes, so I know it's been a little bit longer than that today. So, just in closing, we mentioned success earlier. Success isn't necessarily wins and losses. It's kids feeling better about themselves. It's kids learning something new. It's kids doing something different. We know if we provide really great facilities, and we know if we have a really good culture that's warm and inviting and wants kids to be there, and then if we provide lots of different opportunities, we're going to get a lot of kids to participate, and we're going to see that success. So with that, I would welcome any questions.
I have a couple. If they are really interested in something for an extracurricular club, and they can't find a sponsor, is there a way that you, as the admins or Mr. Hamilton, can help them?
Yeah, I think with clubs in particular, we have site facilitators, and we've changed some of the wording, and we've restructured our 21st century, so it may not necessarily be called a site facilitator now this upcoming year. But we have site facilitators at each of our building, that's their job, and that's Elena Harm's job, to go out and find a community sponsor. It's easier if we have our own people because they're already within the building, but we will look for people within the community to help as well.
And on some of these clubs, I could see where community donations would be a great thing. Would they just get in contact with the school and talk to them?
Yeah, or myself, either one would be awesome.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I have a question. What's louder than a bomb?
I'll refer to the IJAG, slam poetry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a slam
Awesome.
poetry club. So
Cool.
yeah, so
Cool.
the two that got recognized were same
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, all right, that's what that is. Okay, cool.
Miss Dow.
It has nothing to do with like real bombs.
No.
Right, okay. I do want to commend the coaches and the older students when they come and visit the elementary schools and even the middle schools. They're like celebrities to those kids, and I always hear about it when that happens, and I think that's just a wonderful community thing that you have all set up, and I really thank you for that. And like my daughter participated in the soccer camp earlier with the high school AL girls, and she said, I wish there was soccer camp every day. So it was a really positive experience for her, and just all those students taking the time to do that is really impressive. So thank you.
I have a question. So it's for Mr. Novotny. I don't know if you can answer it, but it's with some of the data that your colleagues provided. But I noticed spring and summer athletics, their participation was down from last year. I assume summer could be like graduation, with our graduates leaving and just kind of being done with Council Bluffs schools. But I'm curious, like maybe if there's any other trends. Was it maybe like a smaller class size, across the grades, or something else?
I feel for summer coaches. I'll say that publicly. This is on the air. June 1, the rules in Iowa, it is free reign. You can have full-fledged practice every single day from June 1 until the first day of fall sports, taking away the dead week. They have a dead week where you can't have anything to do with kids. So this summer, all 3 music directors were in the building working with kids last week. If you come to Ale at 6:30 till about 11, you have volleyball, football, basketball, wrestling, not co-ed, boys and girls. Really, the spring sports, because they're just getting off their season, don't do a lot in the summer. But the fall, because they're rolling right in their season, and then weave in winter, it is busy. There's 350, 400 kids. So combine that with kids getting pulled in all these directions, and then your summer sport, which this is my season, but the rules are everybody can touch a lot of my kids. And you know, one thing about my dad, I was meant to mention this earlier. I was a little concerned about our multi-sport, you know, so I called some colleagues of mine. I know a lot of people like schools that are similar to Ale, our 3 Sioux City publics, because I said, you know, only half our kids are multi-sport. And talking to them a little bit, they thought our number, almost a third to a quarter to a third of our kids that are involved in multi-sport was pretty good, or multi-activity, because kids, by the time they're juniors and seniors, get pulled in so many directions, they start to specialize. So why do those numbers go down? There's probably a lot of reasons. That's the first thing that comes to my head. A lot of kids choose, you know, I have to be at basketball, I have to be at volleyball, then I have weights, because that is our huge emphasis. And then, do I want to give up every afternoon and evening at the softball, baseball team? That's part of it. They want to work, that's their time to work. It's just a struggle. We live so close to the river too, you have the club aspect, especially with the softball. We're dealing with that a little bit, and I'm not negative on each side. If I have any softball parents, they're at a game right now, it's raining, but we have a lot of girls that play clubs, so they're pulled by their club team, and also trying to have a responsibility and follow our rules to be at games and practices. So there's probably a lot of different reasons, but I did see that summer data, and that was really a big drop for us. And I'm not concerned, because Coach Britsky is one of our best coaches, and Coach McCoy and Coach Shaw do a great job too, and they do what's best for kids. I think they'll get it turned around. If you look at our softball team, we start 5 8th graders and 4 freshmen, so they're not graduating for 3 or 4 years. So I hope those numbers do rebound. We only have 4 seniors on the baseball team. Our senior night's next week, and 2 senior softball players, so we're not going to lose a lot to graduation. So to sum up everything there, I think it's going to rebound. It is a concern that those numbers did drop, but I think there's a lot of reasons.
No, thank you. Appreciate that.
Not as much a question as more a comment. This is always one of my favorite presentations we get every year, and to hear all about the culture rings, about the pride and everything, it fits so well with a lot of the other, you know, campaigns that we did, you know, with the attendance campaign that we did, and just with our motto this year of "This is us" and everything, to really see it come together, and that just kind of explosion of culture. Really, it's just really fantastic to see. I'm excited about it. I know my daughter's definitely excited with the 21st Century Club. She's been heavily involved in those almost every night. Have there been any issues with the clubs, as Teresa had mentioned? Have there been any issues as far as like either not enough support for a specific club or any adults or anything? Or
No, I'd like to see, we really this year focus on getting more community partners, just because they provide an array of clubs that we don't necessarily have, teachers that might not have interest. I'd like to see more community partners. We're working on it, but I'd like to see if you have connections with them to just come and it doesn't matter. Kids love to just do something new. That's really our focus is to get more community partners.
Thank you.
I have a kind of fun question. If you could be in any sport or co-curricular activity or like club, which one would you be in at your school? I got TJ or AL.
Each have to answer, I think, right?
Well, just as
Not
myself.
just because of like it could be your interest or maybe something that
Well,
you always wanted to
this
try.
would be an appropriate time for me to say that I would be a multi-sport athlete. I would be in quite a few different things, and actually when I was in high school, I was in fine arts, I was in choir, I was in football, and I was in track. So I think that as far as your question goes, I think that it's great that we try to do the best that we can to offer as much as we can and diversify our students as best we can. So I think that we offer a lot of really super quality stuff to be able to do that. And on the flip side, I know it's up on the screen right now, I will say, kind of backing off what Mr. Hamilton said earlier about facilities, we get so many just amazing feedback from all of the teams and places that come to our facilities, that they wish that they could have what we have. And so Jeff and I are blessed in that regard. I mean, it's nice to be able to have a team come down to play softball and it's raining. And it's like, well, we're going to be able to play in a little bit because this turf field's it's going to be fine. Whereas theirs is underwater, you know? So I think there's so many things that we're very lucky and we're very, very thankful for you guys to help provide that, because we get tons of feedback about that from everywhere across the state. And when we have soccer tournaments, even from across the river, they come over and say the same thing, that they wish they had the facilities we did, so.
I text Dr. Murillo when I hear positive comments about our facilities when I'm at the events, so. Yeah.
I'm going to be politically correct here and then kind of funny. I'd be involved in a lot of activities too because of our great coaches and our sponsors. They go above and beyond. But if you don't know a little bit about me, I was a cross-country track athlete in high school, state champ. I'd be a golfer. With what we've done out at Crescent and the way I'm a golfer now, I mean, I would be out there every day using that simulator. So I would definitely be a golfer.
Yeah, you do.
Anything else from the board? Anybody else have any questions? I just want to thank you again. I appreciate everything you guys do, especially with the Innovation Center, the great ideas that you guys came forward with. It's being used so well and continuing to fill up. We got kids out there like every single day and just.
And it's going to be more because even our baseball coaches, we're in the beginning stages of having a youth baseball program and try and hopefully back it up with softball. Our goal between AO and TJ have those batting cages and simulators and everything else we're going to have there used every night. And all the drawback that was originally like, oh, it's at Crescent, it's 15-minute drive. I'm not saying it's gone away completely, but it is minimized. You know, they realize how nice that is. And other schools have seen it and seen the TV and ask about it, and it's really a pretty special place.
It's a great brag. Everywhere I go, it's a great brag. We have something that there isn't anywhere else. So, as always, the leading edge. Anything else from our board? Thank you.
And we will conclude with our last presentation. I'll ask Ms. Comine and Mr. Schultz to join us. We're just going to provide a quick, brief update on how our 24-25 strategic goals, and just really to let the community know of the good work that we're doing here. So, Mr. Schultz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo, and good evening, board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think we only have about 45 slides prepared tonight, so we'll keep it pretty quick.
Probably three.
It is my pleasure just to give you a quick, brief update on our strategic goals. Our first goal is around academic achievement, and we want to improve every year. And using the map, which you saw Dr. Matthews share this data earlier, it's the same data, it looks a little bit different here. But our goal is that 65% of our students will score in the average, high average, or high band on MAP. And as Dr. Matthews shared tonight, there's those 5 quadrants, and there's 20% in each one. So having 65% of our students as a goal is a nice stretch goal. As you can see from the data on the slide, we have 61.99% of our students in math proficient. We have 57.62 in reading, and we have 59.91 in science. In science, this is the first year that we've included that in our strategic plan, in our goal. And we have 5th grade, that's 5th grade through 10th grade. And our math and reading, that's all students in kindergarten through 10th grade. And these numbers are for math and reading are within 1% of where we were at the end of the year last year. But as MAP is a growth assessment, it's really thinking about the new group of students that come in the fall, and then the work we do with them, then how do they achieve in spring. So that's the spring data there on that part. The second part of goal 1 is on math growth targets. And when students take the MAP test in the fall, a goal is set for them for winter and for the end of the year. And we set a target of 60% of our students meeting their growth target. And very pleased to say that we met the goal. We actually exceeded it quite a bit in math at 64.14, so we're very proud of that. Dr. Matthews talked about that 50 mark is a typical norm school district. That's where we are in reading. In math, or in science, sorry, just a little bit under in that 48.45. And she shared some things that we're going to do to improve that, and we do look forward to that for next year. And the final part of goal 1 is any growth. Our goal is that every student grows, learns high levels every single day. So based on their their RIT growth goal in the fall. We want to ensure that every student grows at least one RIT point. We're not quite there, but we are trending in the right direction. Math continues to be our strongest area, where almost 89% of our students K-10 demonstrated some growth. A little bit under in reading, but 78% there, and then science does lag a little bit behind, but we are excited to continue to work on that next year. So that is goal 1. I'd like to invite Melissa Comine up to talk about goal 2.
Good evening again. So goal 2 is our district's North Star, which guarantees each graduate is future ready. And it's also our district's promise that each student will leave high school with not just a high school diploma, but also a second credential, making post-secondary education inescapable. In addition, goal 2 extends beyond our classrooms. That is a promise to our families and also our community that our young people are leaving our district with success, and they're going to have lifelong success. And so it is with great enthusiasm and pride that we exceeded our goal of 90% with 91% of our 2025 graduating seniors earning their second credential, and this data does include our summer graduates as well. You can see some of the highlights around our Diploma Plus One pathways and opportunities from this school year. We had 480 graduates earn 830 credentials. And if you think about that, that's huge. That is saying that many, if not most, of our students earned more than one credential. And then we also had some all-time high credentials in the following areas. You're aware that we had 131 students who graduated with either a certificate, a diploma, or a degree from Iowa Western Community College. We had the opportunity to celebrate them this past May. We also had an all-time high in the seal of biliteracy. That was probably the greatest increase that we've had in any of our pathways. Our students have really taken advantage of that opportunity, and our Spanish teachers have done a really nice job of having pride and attracting students to earn that seal of biliteracy. And then our career and academic program, this particular pathway grows every year. And this year we had a huge increase in students in the area of health science graduating with a certificate or more. Then we also saw an increase of students in aviation and drones. And so those were the two that really kind of put us above to make it another all-time high this school year. And then, of course, our ACT National Career Readiness Certificate increased again this year, and then also our JROTC Leadership Credential. I do want to recognize and highlight our College Credit Acceleration. We had the second highest year this year. The highest year we've ever had was actually the first year. And this is what my belief is around that. The first year when we reported, we didn't have as many pathways and opportunities. And so what has happened is our students are still earning not just as many, but more. And when I was reading some information earlier today, I think our seniors this year, we had over 800 more students earn college credit this year than over last year, and that was an all-time high. So what's happening is our students are really taking advantage of their interests and talents, because if you remember last year, we had the first year in our career and academic program where students earned an associate's degree. And then this year in College Credit Acceleration, we had the highest number of associate degree earners with 19. And 11 of those students came from Thomas Jefferson High School, which was their all-time high. And then we also had 28 STEM concentrators. And so it's really just showing how our students are taking advantage of all of our pathways and what really matters to them. And they look at this not just from their 4-year plan, they're really looking at this from the perspective of what am I going to do after high school? And so that really is exciting. Very proud of our students and very proud of all the work that our schools are doing to help our students. We're going to skip this slide just for the sake of time, if that's okay. So next we're going to take a look at goal 3, which is to provide a successful transition for students entering kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grade. You can see that our goal in kindergarten is to have 80% of our students proficient or higher in both ELA MAP and Math MAP. And this information was already talked about with Dr. Matthews and Mr. Schultz, and so you can see that our kindergartners in math scored really close. We're so close to that 80%. And then our ELA students are really close behind them. Both of these percentages are higher than where our kindergartners were last year. I know that this is a new group of students, but we also like to measure how well our academic program is performing or preparing all students, and so that they were able to take our kindergartners further this year than they were last year. And then in 6th grade, our goal is to have 90% of our students passing all classes, and our 6th graders exceeded that goal last year, and they exceeded it this year, and were a little bit higher than last year as well. And that 6th grade percentage is really important, because when you take a look at middle schoolers being successful, when they pass all of their classes, it helps them develop those strong study skills, those organizational skills. And it also helps them with that time management when they move into high school. And then 9th grade, we had almost 90%, really close, of our 9th grade students earning 12 or more credits. And we know that through the research and also the evidence-based practices, that the most important components of 9th graders being on track is related to their academic performance, as well as the engagement that Tim talked about tonight. But as far as the academic performance piece goes, students who are earning enough credits in their 9th grade year, that is the most significant indicator that they will graduate in 4 years. And then when you take a look at those students who have passed all of their core courses, that's even more significant to show that they will graduate in that 4 years. And then just in closing, I would just like to state that goal 3, I really appreciate this goal, because for our 9th graders specifically, this goal is the one that really goes after helping students graduate in that 4th year. So I'll turn it over to Tim.
Thank you, and as I know we've directed a little bit of this already to the board, but I just wanted to add a few different things for you. So 93% of our students have reported that they have at least one caring adult at their school. As I told you in the other day, we're seeing an increase really in our secondary schools. Our elementary schools are all scoring very well, but we haven't seen an increase there. Just some data that I want to give you. This is the first time that we take this survey 2 times a year. So every single one of our schools scored above 90% when they took it in the spring. 6 schools scored above 95%. Hoover Elementary was our highest scoring. I told you about that the other day. They had one student who said that they didn't have a caring adult. They were at 99% at Hoover Elementary. So we're seeing, while it's not going up as fast as some would like, we're seeing it steadily increase, and really more in our secondary schools. Same thing for liking school. This is up 2% from what it was last year, and we're seeing that really at our secondary buildings more than our elementary buildings. Our elementary buildings are all 85% or higher, but our secondary buildings are bringing that up. So that's really great to see. We had a long discussion about this already, but 69% of our secondary students are participating in extra co-curricular activities. That's up 1% from last year. I went back and looked up some data. When we started this goal, when we started looking at this data point in 21-22, it was 63% of our kids. So it's gone up 6% in 4 or 5 years. So that's really good. And they'll continue to work on it. They have a passion for it, each year chipping away at it. 77.07% of our students' average daily attendance at least 90%. Our goal was 90. This is one that I said the other day that I was a little disappointed in, because we put a lot of work in this. Then I went back and looked. So this is up almost 3% from what it was last year, which is very significant, but it's not at 80%. And as I would ask, and I said to Dr. Murillo, I wonder what it would have been like, what it would have been if we wouldn't have put all the efforts into it. We've really learned a lot this last year around attendance, about the things that are working for us and the things we're going to continue to do. I'm excited to continue to look at this for the next few years to see where we can go. With that, I think we welcome any questions.
I'd just like to point out that you mentioned that 3%. Well, 3%, that doesn't really say much. But what it says to me is that that's nearly 270 students. if we've increased by 3% of our roughly 9,000 students, that's significant. That's students engaging in the classrooms where they need to be. So
That's a great point, Mr. Kozari, thank you.
it helps me to be able to put that in the terms of students.
Yeah.
Get away from, from that, yeah, 77 is a great number, but it tugs at my heart much more when I know that's a student. That's 270 students, roughly, that.
And why sorry, Dr. Murillo, why I said I was a little disappointed is because, it's not because I'm disappointed in the numbers, I wish they were higher, but I saw schools and their teams, and Rachel Horton, who's our attendance and graduation coordinator for the district, put so much time and energy and effort into it. I wish it was higher for them, but that's great. Each school showed a little bit of improvement, so when you look at it at 270 or 300 kids, that is really significant, so thank you.
That's a lot.
And I think when we look at each one of the percentages, especially when you heard Dr. Matthews say this is kindergarten through 10th grade, and sometimes people don't understand that that's like 7,500 students, 7,000 students that we're moving. And I mean, when you think about that 3%, that is almost 300 more students that are showing up to school that didn't before, and we're not done yet. We got 2.0 coming next year, and excited about the work because it matters that students are at school. It matters that we support them and remove the barriers and support our schools around that, because students at school is academic achievement. You start seeing them tied together. Graduation rates, just keep going through all of the indicators. So really excited about it.
Thank you.
And if I could, as we talked yesterday at our retreat, I got to thinking about how I could help be a better advocate. And one of the things that came to my mind is how, in an effort to help our community be a better advocate, what if when we are beginning the school year, when we're talking about our legislative priorities, if we engage the community to come to our work sessions where we're learning about how we will engage our legislators during this time, during the cycle, the legislative cycle, if it would be beneficial for them to come to some of our, invite the community members to our work sessions so that they can get the same information that we are regarding what our goals are and what our legislative priorities are, so that they all can have that same information and speak with one voice as opposed to multiple voices. That was just one idea I had, that maybe engage the community a little bit more during the work session time. And if it grows bigger than what can the conference room can handle, well, we got our boardroom. So it would be great.
That'd be a good problem to have.
Yeah, it would be a great problem to have. But just an idea as we move forward through that legislative and goal process.
Mr. Tripp, that concludes our presentations this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo. Okay, that moves us to our business section of tonight's agenda, starting with resolutions. First up on the docket, we have consideration of tabled motion, second reading of policies. Is there a motion?
I move to take from the table the motion regarding the second reading of policies introduced in May. The policies we're looking at is Policy 403, Employee Conflict of Interest, 405, Harassment in the Workplace, 406, Abuse of Students by District Employees, 414, Military Service of Employees, 415, Licensed Personnel, 417, reference checks, 423, selection process for classified employees. 428, pay deductions for partial day absences. 431, notification of arrest, criminal charges, or abuse complaints. Policy 509, search and seizure. Policy 517, student medication administration, followed by the administrative procedures, or administrative regulations, which include 403.1, administrator consulting outside employment, 406.1, complaint of injury to or abuse of student by school employee, Regulation 415.3, employment of substitute personnel, 415.5, licensed personnel assignments and transfers, 417.1, confidential employment information authorization and release, 509.1, search and seizure procedure, 517.1, parental authorization and release form for administration of medical medications to students. 417.2, authorization, asthma, or airway constricting disease medication self-administration consent form.
Thank you, Mr. Kozar. Is there a second?
And, pardon me, I didn't scroll all the way down. 518, student-operated devices and vehicles. Got to get that. And 714, bond disclosure.
Apologies for the interruption, Mr. Kozar. Thank you.
That's all right. I wasn't showing the full screen.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second regarding the removal from tabling this last meeting. I believe the reason for tabling was due to a recent state statute change in regards to gender identity references. We needed to ensure that all of these included the removal of said gender identity references. Any discussion or comment from the board? No. Seeing as there is none, Ms. Ostrowski, please call our roll.
Yes, would you remind me who made the second, please? Yes, you did. Thank you, Angela. Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Hardiman?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next, we have a second reading of a different section of policies. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the second reading of the policies and corresponding administrative regulations as presented. That is policies 101, philosophy, educational mission. 102, non-discrimination, multicultural, and non-sexist equity education opportunity. 102.1, discrimination complaints. 102.2, allegation of discrimination form. 102.3, witness disclosure form. 102.4, disposition of complaint form. 102.5, annual notice of non-discrimination. 102.6, continuous notice of non-discrimination. 102.7, notice of Section 504, student and parental rights. 102.8, new online content accessibility and functionality. 418, equal employment opportunity and affirmative action. 418.1, compliance complaint procedure. 418.2, equal employment opportunity affirmative action Americans with Disabilities Act complaint form. 513, anti-bullying/harassment involving students. 522.9, intranasal naloxone protocol. 530, student use of personal electronic devices. 530.1, application for exemption. 617, appropriate use of internet and online learning platforms by students. 617.1, appropriate use of internet and online learning platforms by students, regulation. 624, student promotion and retention. 625.1, high school graduation requirements/foreign exchange students - regulation. 636, multicultural/gender fair education. 701.5, student transportation regulation. And 710.1, employee cell phones regulation as presented.
Second.
That was quick. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comment from our board?
I just want to add that like a lot of great work from like Julie and information from the Iowa Department of Ed and IASB with all these changes, because I know it's a lot of work to navigate some of these laws that, you know, we just have to comply with, and it can be very complex, and it's just really great, you know, we have these resources because it can be very confusing at times too. So I really appreciate, you know, them being resources to us as well.
I'd like to add that I know there was a lot of effort that went into 530 to the student use of personal electronic devices, and so I would just like to applaud that. We talked about it a little bit during our retreat, but it's exciting to see this seeing the light of day. So, thank you.
Seeing as there's no further comment, Ms. Ostrowski, please call our roll.
Mrs. Greiner.
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Dr. Ozello.
Yes.
Mr. Tripp.
Yes.
Mr. Kozire.
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next we have up employee handbook revisions. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the revisions to the employee handbook as presented.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the revisions?
These are the provisions are agreed upon with the CBEA during the union negotiations this spring, and items to reflect changes in personnel and duties and changes required by new state laws, just for the public.
Reiner? Thank you for clarifying.
And just so that I understand, handbook changes, they don't require multiple readings, right? It's just the one
Yeah.
time.
As there is no further comment or question, Ms. Ostrowski, please call our roll.
Ms. Hardeman.
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Mr. Tripp.
Yes.
Mr. Kozire.
Yes.
Dr. Ozello.
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next, we have public record fees. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the 2025-2026 public records fees as presented with no changes from last year.
Thank you.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the public records fees? Seeing as there is none, Ms. Ostrowski, please call our roll.
Mr. Tripp.
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner.
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman.
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Kozire.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Dr. Ozello.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next up, we have our student fee schedule. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the student fee schedule for 2025-2026 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the student fee schedule?
I do have a question, so I guess there's more than, mostly just on the optional, like student activity pass. It says it's not eligible for a fee waiver or reduction, but then it says that you still can complete one to determine if you're eligible. So I just didn't want some extra context and clarity. Thanks.
If they buy a student or parent activity pass, then they don't have to pay the activity uniform fee. That's what that is referring to. Does that answer your question?
I think she's looking for the reduced cost, or can you apply for a waiver if you have a certain threshold?
Yes. If a student, if they fill out a waiver form and are eligible to get a reduced fee or free, then they can pay that amount for those items.
Okay, does that answer the question? So there's a full fee of $40, and it's the only line item that does not have a reduced fee?
Right. They don't get a reduced fee for that. Yep.
But they can still fill out the form to request one.
They can fill out the form for a reduced fee, but it doesn't apply to the activity passes.
So
Yep.
that.
They have to pay the full fee.
That parenthesis asterisk is just blanket, it's just blanket on everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha. I'm following.
You guys following what she's saying?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, that makes sense, yeah, because I could see how it's confusing as somebody like, who could qualify for like waivers, I could see like, I'd be like, oh, I thought.
So maybe
you know.
we can remove.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I just don't.
Mhm.
have a
Remove
question.
asterisk.
Yep, when it gets printed, it'll
Yeah, but
have
that
that.
makes more sense.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, yep.
further? We have a motion and a second regarding student fee schedule with an administrative amendment not requiring any additional work from the board to remove the parenthesis, including the possible waiver of the asterisk. Okay, all right. Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
The motion carries. Next up, we have our superintendent contract.
I move that the board approves the continuation of the superintendent's employment contract with the Council Bluffs Community School District as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board regarding approval of our superintendent's contract?
Looking forward to the continuation.
Thank you for the excellent work.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
We are very blessed to have an administrator such as you sitting in this spot. Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
And the resolution carries. Next, we have approval of class companion education tool. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the purchase of Class Companion digital subscription as presented.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion from our board regarding this education tool?
I just have one question. I was curious, since it is an AI tool, if it can detect AI with student writing. No? Okay. I was just curious.
This gives feedback to
Mhm.
students.
Okay.
It kind of personalizes, kind of an assistant and support
Yeah.
for our teachers.
Gotcha.
Is this for all grade levels and all locations?
Secondary.
Okay. Seeing as there's no further question, Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next, we have district van purchase. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the purchase of a van for $42,342 as presented.
Thank you.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding this van?
Now, I do know that we cannot purchase a new van, it has to be used.
Yes.
Correct.
Can we talk through the purpose for this and everything?
Yeah, sure. Why do we need this van, Mr. Hamilton?
To bring our fleet to 3.
TJ last year. We did TJ last
Mm-hmm.
year, this one's for AL.
Yeah, as we have as we presented tonight, lots of different activities, there's lots of needs for vans, and having a 12-passenger vans for sports such as golf and tennis, even like volleyball, really makes a difference we saw such a large cost savings when we bought the TJ one. So we've been looking for the last couple years, but because of the rules and everything, they're hard to find. So this one was out of Lincoln, and it was a good deal, so we just wanted to move forward with it. But we'll use it for lots of different activities, but primarily the sports at AL. And then having a fleet of 3, like in the summer, our kids are going to a lot of different camps, so they'd be able to use all 3 vans to go. So it will save, we figure, about $30,000 per van that we buy.
Awesome.
Remind me, is
Love
there
a
a
good deal.
year cutoff? It just can't be new.
There's no regulations as far as how many miles or what year it could be. It just can't be new.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
Love the things that don't make sense. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Anything further from our board?
No. Just a cost savings of 30,000 yearly. That's substantial.
Per van.
Yeah.
Per van.
Per van.
So we pretty much make back the purchase price in a
Yeah.
year and a couple months.
Within a year. Yeah.
Oh, and it's coming out of the Pebble Fund too, should mention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
And the motion carries. AL, you have a new van.
New to them.
You
New to them, it's used.
previously loved. Next up, we have approval of agreement with Raptor Technologies Visitor Management System. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the Raptor Technologies Visitor Management System in the amount of $29,967.84.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board regarding the visitor management system?
I understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
currently have a visitor management system, but it's separate and outside of Raptor.
Right.
So we're letting that one go and not renewing and moving it inside to kind of strengthen our security. It'll be one system now. So it's not that it's something new, it's that we're not renewing the prior visitor management system and now moving to Raptor. So it's all one.
Yep.
Presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A while
Yeah.
back, right? Okay.
And the one thing that I loved about it was the background checks, and so that
It was
our
so-
people who want to volunteer, we've taken care of everything, and again, it's a cost savings to the school district not to do those checks.
Right, I recall we went out to bid and researched everything, and this was not only the best one, but the least expensive one too, so.
And we were already using
We
it.
were already using it for another portion of our security, so fantastic. Anything further from the board? Mrs. Straussky, please call the roll.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
The motion carries. Last on our resolutions, we have the Storm Protection Fund. Is there a motion?
I move to approve participation in the Storm Protection Fund, or SPF, for the years of 2025 to 2026 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion and a second. Dr. Morello, could you give some insight on what the SPF contribution is for?
This is another move to have some cost savings, and our new CFO has really been researching some areas, so I'll let Ms. Leham present.
This is a new thing that came out because last year with all the natural disasters and everything, the insurance company, EMC particular, wanted to charge a 1% deductible for wind and hail. And so that could mean for $21 million school building, it could mean $216,000. So per building. So we chose not to participate in the 1% to buy down our deductible. We could buy it down, but we figure our buildings are separated enough that it wouldn't take them all out, so we chose not to participate and try to build up our management fund. However, with property casualty insurance and work comp, they continue to climb and increase. So what the schools did is they got together with Jester Insurance and they got a pool. So now we're able to buy in, and there's 12 large districts that are going to join. I had particularly asked just to find out those numbers. There's 3 that have meetings next week, so they may join as well. And there's 7 that aren't eligible because they're in some other type of program. To be eligible for the SPF, that's what it's called, districts must have property insurance with EMC and be subject to the 1% deductible like we are. Districts marked as ineligible, they're either with another safety group or they have property insurance with a different program. So it's also limited to people who already have EMC coverage like we do. And
What does it provide us with?
it provides us with, if there was a disaster that took out one of our buildings and it was over $100,000, they would cover each occurrence for $100,000. They would pay that deductible. So basically they're covering our deductible up to $100,000. So it could take out multiple buildings for one disaster and it still would only be $100,000. So it will cost us $203,000 to get into this program, but it gives us that safeguard of being covered and only having to put out $100,000 and they will cover the excess.
So it's a buffer policy, pretty much?
Yes.
Between what we have and what our attachment point is?
Yes, it's our policy. which is increasing to 2.7 million, and it adds on that 203,000, but that also does buy down. It minimizes our risk that we have.
And this will be a yearly recurring
Yes,
charge.
and they're trying to build the fund right now, so they set it up with large districts having a certain cost and smaller districts having a certain cost, and then they'll look at it next year to see how the fund is sitting, and then they'll determine what the cost will be for the following year.
Where are all the other districts located? Are they across the nation or?
No, they're all in the state of Iowa.
All in Iowa, okay.
Mhm.
Throughout the state?
Yep, throughout the state, all over the state. Yep.
Lori, if we hadn't have gotten into this program, we would have paid more than this 200K to protect ourselves.
Right, if there was a disaster, we would be paying more than that.
And the money that we're contributing, that we're paying, since it's tied to insurance, it's coming from the management fund, I think, correct?
It would be paid out of the management fund.
Okay, I
Yep.
was trying to make sure, I couldn't remember if it
Yes.
was going to be Pebble or management, so.
That is correct.
Is this a new program? that
It
just
is a
started?
new program this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Is this a membership thing where the price may change after the initial buy-in?
It can change after the initial buy-in, and we could get out at any point in time. So let's say we want to do it for this 1 year, choose to get out, we can. Other districts can join if they're eligible at any point in time. It is something that we do buy into, and our price may change. Could be lower next year based on the fund balance that is sitting in this pool.
This is a membership-owned pool, not another carrier.
Not another carrier.
Are there potential?
Jester Insurance,
Is there a potential for disbursements?
yes.
Okay.
There is, if you have a disaster, there'll be a disbursement. And then also, if it would terminate for some reason, there would also be, the assets would be divided out.
Right. Okay.
Are there other districts in the UEN who are participating in this?
There's, I think I said 12 large districts that are participating. Yep. Yep.
I didn't realize that the large districts were in the UEN, so sorry, thank you.
Yes, yes.
They're probably the only ones that could. Yeah.
The largest with a big eight.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have a larger list than that, but there's 12 larger districts. Yep. Yep.
We need to say original.
All right, anything further for Ms. Leanne? No. Thank you, Mrs.
Yep.
Leanne.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the board? Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next up on our agenda, we have our consent agenda items, which includes approval of memberships in IASB, ISFIS, and UEN, approval of Bridges K through 5 math unit refill kits, the 2025-26 IJAG Secondary Memorandum of Understanding, renewal of Itopia Cloud App Classrooms, annual renewal of Fortinet, not to be confused with Fortnite, and Client Protection and FortiPAM, annual renewal of PowerSchool SIS hosting, maintenance, and enrollment, renewal of ClassLink subscription, Special Education Transition Alliance Program, TAP, contract number 20 TAP-12, Exhibit B included. Our personnel agenda or disbursements for May of 2025 and May 2025 financials. Is there a motion for our consent agenda?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding any consent agenda item?
I do just want to make a comment on the personnel agenda. We did have a teacher, Mr. Smith, who has passed, and I just wanted to offer my condolences to the district and the community. He was my son's teacher this last year, and wonderful teacher, wonderful person, and I just wanted to give my condolences.
Thank you, Ms. Greiner. Seeing as there's no other comment, Mrs. Straussky, please call our roll.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the consent agenda passes. Before we close tonight, I wanted to bring forward to the public that we did
Participate
in a board retreat yesterday. This is one of the many learning opportunities that our board takes on itself. We are a learning board, and it is something that we have taken ownership of. I believe the average hours put in was 20-plus hours this year between each of our board members, to the point where each of us has earned enough to have individual awards as well as a full-on board award, including our superintendent. So thank you again to our board for your continued learning. We are education. We are supporting our educators. We are committed to learning as well. So I want to take a time and a chance for everybody to share a little bit about what you took away from our retreat, or any other comments you would like to advise the public of, and thank them for allowing us to do so. So just want to go down the table, be fine.
All right. Well, at our retreat, we talked a lot about our goals, but also how we could make our board better. And that was challenging work. We all put in a lot of dedication and time and learning, and it was exciting to kind of pinpoint some areas that we could improve, be better advocates with the legislators, how can we reach out to the community, and as Dave said, really renewing our vows as a board. And it just left me really energized, and I'm thankful to work with the six of you and you, Dr. Murillo, because we are all aligned, and it was a really exciting experience for me. So thank you for setting that up and having us participate in it.
Thank you.
Just echoing a little bit of what Angela said, it was really great to dive in deeper on our goals and our glows and grows, because I think we do so much that we are focused on our students and every single student that we forget to step back and enjoy some of the things that we have done that are amazing, even if they're small. Of course, we have the big things that we look forward to each year, such as, Promise to Succeed and graduation and our stars, but it's really nice to just step back and be like, hey, last year, we weren't even thinking about this, and this year we are. That is huge. And then just keep pushing ourselves too, because we want our students to succeed, and we want to be, the best in the state. So it was really great to have those conversations, and I think just connecting more as board members is great, because it's what keeps us in alignment. Same with the cabinet members too, and Dr. Murillo. And the last thing is we did get to spend some time at the Early Learning Center, which is obviously one of our newest facilities, but it's always a fun place to be at. And we had a fun time going in the hallways and sitting in what I call the conversation pits for one of our discussions. So it was great to kind of explore the building a little bit more.
Thank you.
I liked and loved the fact that I came out of there refocused, because we've spent a long time sitting here and meetings, and the public doesn't know how many meetings we really go to. You hear about people who want to run for the school board, and bless you, run, come visit us. We'd be happy to tell you everything. Again, we want that community involvement. We want people here. But sometimes you lose that focus because it becomes so just, well, this is what I do. And I loved the fact that she helped us, our leader there, Luann, helped us refocus why we're here.
I'll skip myself so I can close.
It's your prerogative.
Yeah, it's hard to follow that. It was fantastic getting it was fantastic getting a chance to, as everyone has said, take a step back and kind of and focus on, why we're here, why we're doing this. We also had some very interesting conversations. We got to learn more about each other, which is always cool, and also some interesting conversations with the State Board of Education regarding some new future endeavors. That was really exciting to get to hear about, and it really solidified kind of our, as you said, our opinion that we're Iowa's leading edge and that we're really leading the charge as a school district. So it's really good to be able to take some time to focus on that and celebrate.
I think that there was a few things I have really come to appreciate, all of us. I think we're all very united and where we're going. We did the activity about, if you could go back to one grade, what would it be? And I think the common denominator from all of us was that we did come out with, there was a person, at least one person, who meaningfully impacted our lives during our K through 12 education. And that's really, I think, helped kind of focus of, that's what we want for every student in our district, is that maybe they have a hard time picking which grade was their favorite. So, and Lou is always fantastic. Love Lou.
For me, I think I see there's a motivation to codify what continuing education means to a board member and to the board as a whole. So if we are that motivated, then hopefully we will put those words in a policy that will help future boards stay focused and be able to realize that as a learning board, we need professional development, as well as all of our staff needs professional development. And so hopefully that we can get that into policy, that as a board, we believe that every board member should be doing continuing education and continue to evaluate our progress in our goals.
What I took away is how amazing it is that our cabinet, our staff, and our board are all so proactive and forward-thinking. We are very well in line, and it truly showed how committed we all are to our students and our staff. There was talks about everything you could imagine, but one of the things that we focused on as a board was board assessment. Is one of the topics that I wanted to make sure that we hit to ensure that we are doing the right thing for the school district and for the community. And it seemed like we were all pretty much in line with where we're doing great and where we would like to see ourselves work a little bit harder to do things better. So it was a fantastic exercise, and I truly hope, as Dave said, we can find a way to write this in the policy that it is continued on. This is our second annual, and I'm happy that this is going this way. So thank you again for your time. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the public allowing us to do this to support your kids. So without further ado, our meeting is adjourned.